Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on this short video that I want to make as my own contribution to a situation that is in our community right now. It's a very, very serious situation and will change the character of our community if we don't solve this problem. I am talking about our community center, the 1020 Bandana Boulevard property that is owned by Mincam. So the problem now is, for 9 years, we haven't been able to make that property sustainable. The reason why it hasn't been sustainable is because we have been trying to manage that property in a way that most non-profit organizations that have a windfall like that comes into their non-profit, we haven't handled it the way they would do, or the way experts would suggest that they do. Because when you are a non-profit, you're a 501c organization, you do say very specifically what your 501c thing is about. In our case, it's for culture, education, and economics support or something like that. It is not in the business of running real estate, because what we have is a 57,000 square feet, two-story building at the center of a business district. And for 9 years, we've had it sitting there, and we use it as though it's a small community hall that we have in some property that we own, and it's just standing there. It is not. It's a commercial property that should be out there making money to sustain itself and also make a profit for its owners. We haven't given it that opportunity. It hasn't happened that way because most of the people who come to run it don't have the time and the expertise to run it. Their solution has been either to go beg money from the community and come and pay the bills of that property, or when things have become really tough, now people are talking about selling it. In 2015, the value of that property was $2,400,000. In 2016, $2,909,800. In 2017, $3,012,500. In 2018, $3,421,100. The number was the same in 2019. I don't have 2020, 2021, and 2022, but let's just say the value of that property is $3.5 million plus. But as they've been talking about selling it, the highest they've been looking at is $670,000, I believe. In fact, they were very happy to go and take $500,000 somewhere and insisted on it. So what are we doing? What are we doing? We are not in the business of running real estate or running commercial properties. So when such a windfall comes, what experts and what most profitable and non-profits have done to benefit from that windfall is they create what they call a limited liability company, or they allow it to create its own limited liability company. So it branches up as a for-profit unit, go and make money in a very competitive market, and then bring the profits back to the non-profit. So what we need to do is to branch off that property. Let's branch it off and call it Bandana Boulevard Plaza. Let's just give it that name. Bandana Boulevard Plaza will now be its own business. It has its own board of directors. It has its executive that runs the business. It has its maintenance man. It has its employees. It has people who it is their job every day to come to that building, people whose business is to go and look for renters to come into that place, people whose business is to make sure that the lights are always on, it's cool, and everything is secured. At the end of the month, they collect all this money for all this business they've generated. They pay the utility bills, they pay the employees, turn around and give the rest to Mincam. Why? Because it is a separate company, but Mincam owns 100% of the shares. That way, that property is taking care of itself, it's making money, and Mincam, with its being a community-based organization, its members get up and go do their 9 to 5 as they're doing now, and that building is not standing there empty. That's the plan. That's what most non-profits do. If you go and look at, just go and research what non-profits do. This information is online. I've been singing this since 2016 or 2015 when I went to the board. I went and did research. And because I've been singing that, people now, if you know how Mincam runs, it's rotten. It's rotten. And that's why you hear when I say let's make the place be a cash cow for Mincam, we could be making $50,000 every month from that property. Every month from that property that comes into Mincam. Now that's a cash cow. That's what I call a cash cow. Let me tell you, I do, like I said, I do real estate investment. If you own 10 properties, if you own 10 buildings, each of that building should be its own company, should be its own limited liability property. So if I buy a property today, I'll call it Ambe Property 1 LLC. If I buy another one, it'll be Ambe Property 2 LLC. So that if something happens and there's a liability in property 1, they don't come after my assets in property 2. Okay, so you're doing that for several reasons. Several reasons. Okay, if you own 10 buildings, there should be 10 LLCs, limited liabilities. If you don't, and you say, I want to own all of them, let all of them have Ambe's property and it's all me. What will happen is if somebody falls in property 1 and break their foot, a lawyer comes, they'll first look at how much you have. And how much you have, it's in all those properties. And before you know, you lose all of them. Okay? So there are many, let's do business the way business is done in America. Let's organize Mincam the way non-profits are organized in America. That's exactly what the Attorney General's report was saying. Let me come back to the property. So right now, we owe taxes. I'll round it up to $150,000. We also need money to maintain, to upgrade the property and put it back into the market, being run by that LLC that we will create. That's the only option. We don't have many options. That's the only option. We have to create an LLC. When we create that LLC, it becomes a profit-making business. At that point, people can invest in it. You can now sell shares. You can now sell shares. When we create it to start with, Mincam will own all the shares, 100%. If Mincam has all the money to go pay the taxes, if Mincam has all the money to put into that business, to give to that business, to go pay the taxes, and also upgrade, then Mincam will own 100% of that. But we all know that Mincam doesn't have that money. Okay, I want to discuss this shares thing a little more detail so that those who are interested should get a little more detail about it. The shares will raise money to take the building into the rental business. We owe taxes of $150,000. On top of this $150,000, add maybe $100,000 or $150,000 or less for operating capital, because after we pay the taxes, the property needs to be upgraded. Okay, we need to paint the building. That building has never been painted outside since it was bought. Since we need to make that building look beautiful and into code. Okay, up to code. So when the property becomes a profit-making LLC, it can have individuals buy shares in the LLC to pay the taxes and have operating capital to get the building into the rental business. When revenues start coming in, here's how the revenues will be distributed. Okay, so once revenues start coming in, the employees will be paid first. Then our vendors will be paid. The utilities and all that, they will need to be paid. And then the shareholders will be the next to be paid. And what they'll be paying the shareholders is not how much they invested. It's profits. It's like dividends. You'll be paid dividends, and we can decide whether it's done annually or quarterly. I would suggest that it's quarterly, so that our people, really start getting benefits from their investments. Because it is they who will save this building, otherwise Mincam will lose it. So we should go with quarterly payments. I'll also say that in order to make the shares attractive, for the purposes of shares, let's put the property at 100% value to be $1 million, so that when you give us your 1% or your $1, you own 1% of the company or of the building. So the remainder goes to Mincam. I am foreseeing 20 to 30% of profits going to shareholders of Bandana Boulevard Plaza, and 70 to 80% going back to Mincam. These profits will continue to be earned by those who buy shares until the shares are bought back by the company or by Mincam, the parent company. Okay? And so when the shares offering will be made, there will be a clause for Mincam to buy back the shares anytime they want. That gives an opportunity for Mincam to own the LLC and own 100% of the profits that come from that property. Buying shares to that building will bring you way more money than having the money in the bank or anywhere else. I'm going to explain that later. And if you want to sell your shares, look for someone else to buy it, or just sell it back to Mincam. But that's how we're going to do this thing. Now, the question you have in your mind is, what if business doesn't come in? Well, we don't have renters. No, we do have renters. When I was expanding this hall, because we're there every day and the doors were always open, we had people come in looking for space to rent. But at the time, I just told them to call back when the place was ready. And I gave them the number to the president. I don't know if they ever followed up. But those are the opportunities we have. I'll tell you another thing. The plan that I had as a fund development chairman was to open this main hall so that we can start meeting in that hall as a community, and also solve the problem of going into people's houses in order to raise funds. Because in the days we used to go to people's houses, people had to house us so we can invite the community to raise funds, and people were getting tired of that. So part of opening this hall was for that purpose, and also that so that our community can have a place where they meet. There are 2 other spaces that are identified where we were planning that immediately we finish that hall, we will open those for other halls. Because there are times when there are like 2, 3 events in the city. If you look at a lot of the event centers, they have more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places going at the same time. We can have that at 1020 Bandana Boulevard. We have enough space to do that, even just downstairs. I'm not even talking about upstairs. If you go upstairs, you will even see the possibilities. You will see the possibilities that are there, even just for events. So no, this property is very centrally located, and our problem has been that nobody has ever thought about making the business earn its own way and then make a profit for us as a community. This time we must do that. And anybody who puts his money into helping the community move forward, I will press very hard that they be the first people paid. Before any money goes to Mincam, I think all those people that Mincam owe from the people who invested in the property originally as loans, they need to be paid. We can't be destroying people who have faith in the community, and then we have people who don't have faith in the community, people who are positioning themselves to own community property for themselves. We shouldn't let that happen. I think it would be a total disgrace for our community and to those who are trying to take the property. I know that our community can keep this property. We are wealthy enough to do that. I will cough my own $1,000 first, and if I need to put more, I will. So let's save this property, and I can tell you something. Within a very short time, we'll be very proud we did. There was Interfaith that came in to rent the property before, but they couldn't rent it because the boiler was no good. During COVID, Ramsey County also came to rent the property. So on this day, Ramsey County came with their whole acquisition staff, and they were coming to comb through the building, check that everything was in place, because they wanted to take over that building, house COVID victims, and then also use some of the spaces upstairs for their offices. In fact, they were interested in having those offices for at least 10 years. So this day they brought in their engineers, their architects, their programmers, their plumbing experts, their heating experts. They went through the building. They made sure we had an emergency generator. They came very close to taking over the building. But again, the heating and cooling problem with the building halted everything. The door to this particular deal is not closed. You know, it's something which, when we fix that building, we'll approach them again, because Ramsey County doesn't have offices in particular parts of the city, and our building was, and it still is, very, very suitable for them. So we need to do what we need to do before we can ask anybody else to do anything in the building. And that's one of the things that the limited liability company will be able to do. They can go to the bank, they can loan money from the bank, they can sell more shares. So people, that is the solution. It is that short. It's a solution that I don't know if Mincam leadership has never thought of this, but when I was in the board, I sang it most of the time, and to be honest, I was blacklisted and sidelined because there were other disgusting plans going around. And so that's why you've heard me calling for the resignation of this present board. Get rid of all these people, and I've been calling them establishment. I'm trying to keep this positive, but there have been very, very nasty stories. All those people who you see come online and say, sell, 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 my understanding is that they have investment companies or investment groups that they have on the back. They're keeping money waiting to pounce on it. That property is Mincam's property. It needs to remain Mincam's property. We need a community asset. We have our individual assets where we're doing really well. Let's also have our community asset, because America is organized not as families out there. No. If you look at the communities that are doing well, are communities that are organized as a community, support themselves. We need our community building, our community assets to build ourselves up. I would remain to answer any questions if there are. I'll post the video and let's have a chat online on any questions you have. They've always said this is an unbased plan. It's not an unbased plan. It is a plan of experts. That's one of the articles. I made copies of these articles and I share them to members, go and read it so that we do the right thing for Mincam, but nobody cared. Most people came to Mincam came either for self-servicing purposes, that I'm the chairman of the board, or I am chairman of this president. I want to talk about one of the presidents, and I'm talking about Gabriel Mbah. He's one person who came, and I did not really know the story. I've learned more details about the story more lately. That he is the one who fought so that that property should not go the way a lot of the people who were in Mincam, holding Mincam positions, pretending to serve Mincam, were instead there to serve a private and another interest. So I want to recognize that, because I was going to generalize that when most people come to Mincam, they come there to say I'm the president of Mincam and get a free drink or be called Mr. President and all that bullshit. Let's come together like the brilliant, mature, educated, high income earning community that we are. And because look, if we save that property and we do good with it, the whole of Minnesota will know, because the whole of Minnesota right now knows that we bought a $3 million property for $200,000, and we cannot account for a lot of things. We cannot make it work. We cannot live with that as our legacy in this town or in this country. In fact, in the world. And I'm saying this because for the past month, I've traveled to Atlanta and Indianapolis. Everybody has read our story there, and they feel so sorry for us. And it's not happy sorry. It's not happy sorry. They look at us like idiots. But I didn't take that. I took that with a little grain of salt, because our Cameroonian communities or Ambazonian communities function the same all around the world, actually. But let us prove to be the exception here in Minnesota. We've already proven that we are the exception by buying that building. So let's prove that we are the exception to make it work, and then get the multiplier effect in our community from that property. Because from that property alone, give us a few years, we'll open our own credit union. With that credit union, we will not be able to, instead of us buying homes from finance by different, we finance our own. We buy shares there. Millionaires in this country, you cannot be a millionaire by one source of income. In the investment community, I've learned that to be a millionaire, most millionaires make their money by having multi-revenue sources. But what I'm really suggesting right now, the immediate thing is that let's form the LLC in July. We should we should sell shares for at least $150,000 so we can get the tax man off our backs. And let's limit the shares to members of our community. And they will get their money back in in tenfolds. I've already told you the businesses that those opportunities are still there, but we cannot continue to let that property be run by people who pack it every day and go to their 9 to 5, and then it gets flooded, it gets destroyed. I think like twice that building has been flooded for days before anybody knew. And how do we know? It's either Wellington who calls or the hotel, because they've seen water pouring out of our doors. We cannot be doing that. We cannot get a property like that, and that's the way it's being treated. The only way to not treat it that way is to branch it off, give it. It doesn't have to be Ambe it doesn't have to be anybody in our community, but it needs to be that extra. We need to separate it from our community and give it ability to run its own life, and then we get the benefits. Ladies and gentlemen, I really wanted to tell you what the solution for our problem is. Now that you've known it, I'm going to work with some people in the background and prepare a way that those who want to buy shares, so that we save the building, buy the shares, and then we can save the building, and then we now start working on the paperwork to create the LLC and to get the people that will work for us to make that property become the cash cow that it was meant to be for our community.